Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nyawich Kuong in case you're new here. I usually don't do such videos, but I felt compelled to because of the book I just read and the book we're going to be discussing today. If you're new here, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Welcome to 2025. I think it's going to be a very intellectual year, and I'm hoping you stick around with me to the end of the video and to the end of the year. Today we're going to be talking about the book. I even sat in front of my home library so I can show you guys the book that I'm currently reading. So the book that we're going to be discussing today is this lovely book by Elise Loehnen and has really helped me. If you follow me on Instagram, I had done a poll recently and I had done a whole story questioning and asking you guys what you think about different societal opinions and things regarding emotions and how suppressed we are as a society not to show our emotions, or to show more of this kind of emotion and less of dash kind of emotion. So this is the book that inspired the entire topic for today. I had written some notes down, so I will be reading those notes as I go with the video. So most of my thoughts are already pre-arranged, and if anything comes up, I will just say it as I go. Also, forgive my voice. I have been trying and avoiding doing the video because I felt that my voice, and I'm still sick, I think you can still hear it, is not clear enough. But you know what, I'm not going to put it any further because the things will evaporate from my mind. All right. Okay, so this is the book. It's called On Our Best Behaviour: The 7 Deadly Sins and the Price Women Pay to Be Good by Elise Loehnen. And I got the hardcover version of this. If you know me and you want to borrow this book, I highly suggest that you should do so. We're going to go in immediately and we're going to go into the historical context of the 7 deadly sins. Elise Loehnen begins On Our Best Behaviour by delving into historical origins of the 7 deadly sins, which were first codified by the Christian theologian like Evarius Ponticus and later popularized by the Pope Gregory I in the 6th century. These sins, which were lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride, were framed as moral failings that led individuals away from God and towards damnation. Over time, they became entrenched in Western cultural and religious teachings, creating a moral code that governed human behavior. Loehnen highlights how these sins were not originally about judgment or punishment, but were meant to guide individuals towards self-awareness and spiritual discipline. However, as the concept evolved, it was weaponized to control human behavior, especially that of women. Religious and patriarchal systems reinterpret the sins to reinforce gender norms, casting women as more susceptible to sin, thus in greater need of moral regulation. For instance, women were being portrayed as temptress, responsible for leading men astray through lust, a narrative that is deeply rooted in stories like Eve in the Garden of Eden. Through this lens, Loehnen argues that the 7 deadly sins became tools to suppress women's anatomy and reinforce societal expectations. Lust, for example, was used to police women's sexuality, framing their desires as shameful and dangerous. Similarly, gluttony extended beyond food and encompasses any form of indulgence of excess, forcing women to equate self-denial with virtue. Pride, perhaps the most damaging of all, was weaponized to discourage women from asserting themselves, pursuing ambitions, or celebrating their accomplishments. By connecting the historical roots of the sins to their modern implications, Loehnen provides a critical foundation of understanding how these ideas have shaped the lives of women over centuries. She challenges readers to recognize that these sins were never meant to dictate morality in such a restrictive and gendered way, but were instead distorted to maintain systems of power. This historical context sets the stage for the rest of the book, where she unpacks how these sins manifest in contemporary society and offers pathways to liberating ourselves from the oppressive hold. In Our Best Behaviour, Elise Loehnen explores how the 7 deadly sins, once rooted in religious teachings, have been deeply embedded in societal norms to shape the constraints of women's behavior. These sins, Loehnen argues, have been selectively weaponized to ensure that women adhere to strict standards of morality, modesty, and selflessness, often to their detriment. One of the central ideas Loehnen addresses is how women are socialized from an early age to suppress natural human instincts like desire, anger, ambitions in order to meet societal expectations. For example, the sin of lust has been used to control women's sexuality. Women are more often judged more harshly than men from expressing social anatomy with words like promiscuous or immoral, disproportionately directed at them. This double standards not only shames women, but it also limits their ability to fully embrace their desires without fear of judgment. Loehnen underscores how this repression creates a culture where women's bodies are objectified, yet their agency over their own sexuality is denied. Similarly, the sin of pride has been wielded to stifle women's ambitions of confidence. From a young age, girls are taught to avoid being too full of themselves or too assertive, lest they be labeled as unlikable. Loehnen connects this with one of the broader societal fears of women in positions of power, where displays of confidence are often misinterpreted as aggressiveness. By internalizing this message, many women downplay their achievements or refuse to advocate for themselves when doing so is necessary for their growth. Another poignant example Loehnen addresses is sloth, which is redefined in the context of modern womanhood. While sloth traditionally refers to laziness or spiritual apathy, for women it manifests as guilt of not doing too much. Society pressures women to constantly care for others, whether as mothers, as partners, or as colleagues, leaving little room for rest or self-care. This constant demand of productivity fuels burnout as women internalize their belief that their worth is tied to how much they sacrifice for others. Loehnen also reveals how this expectation creates a cycle where women feel they are never enough, no matter how much they give. Loehnen also examines the ways envy and wrath are pathologized in women, turning natural emotions into sources of shame. For instance, envy is often discouraged because it highlights women's dissatisfaction with societal inequities or personal struggles. Rather than acknowledging the legitimate reasons behind envy, society encourages women to suppress these feelings and accept their circumstances. Similarly, wrath, an emotion historically linked to the resistance, has been demonized in women, portraying anger as irrational or unladylike. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that means. Loehnen counters this by emphasizing that anger is often necessary and valid response to injustice. Yet, women are discouraged from expressing it openly for fear of being dismissed or ostracized. Through this example, Loehnen illustrates the insidious ways the seven deadly sins have been reframed to keep women at a state of self-doubt and conformity. These societal expectations not only limit women's potential, but also creates deep-seated feelings of guilt, shame, and inadequacy. Her analysis challenges readers to question the origin of these beliefs, to recognize how they continue to shape the roles that women play in families, workplace, and communities. By acknowledging the disproportionate burden these sins place over women, Loehnen paves a way for deeper conversations about reclaiming autonomy and rewriting the narrative around morality and gender. That was a tough session. One thing I really love about this book, and one thing I feel is the most compelling aspects of On Our Best Behaviour, is that Elise Loehnen's willingness to weave her own vulnerabilities and struggles into her critique of societal norms. Her personal reflections serve as both a lens through which readers can understand the impact of seven deadly sins in a call to action to confront their own internalized belief. By sharing her journey, Loehnen has created a relatable and intimate narrative that resonates with women navigating similar pressures. Loehnen's candid discussion of her experience with perfectionism, people-pleasing, and guilt add emotional depth to her analysis. For instance, she reflects on how her deep-seated fear of being perceived as selfish or unworthy led her to overextend herself in relationships at work. The societal demand for women to be endlessly accommodating to what Loehnen connects to the sins of sloth often left her drained and resentful. Yet, instead of recognizing these feelings as sins of imbalance, she internalized them as a personal failings. Her vulnerability in sharing these struggles invites us readers to examine our own tendencies to equate self-worth with self-sacrifice. Another important moment in the book is that Loehnen's exploration of pride and how she was conditioned to undervalue her own achievements. She recalls moments where she hesitated to celebrate her success, fearing that it might be seen as arrogant or ungrateful. This condition, she argues, is a direct result of societal messaging that women must remain humble, differential, even when they excel. Lohen's decisions to confront and unlearn these beliefs is not presented as a linear journey, but as a process fraught with doubt, setbacks, and making her story both honest and inspiring. Lohen also reflects on the toll that suppressing emotions like wrath and envy has taken on her mental health. She describes how, as a young professional, she often silenced her anger at workplace iniquities, worrying that voicing her frustrations would make her seem difficult or emotional. We've all heard this. This suppression not only perpetuated the injustices she experienced, but also created internal conflict as she struggled to reconcile her feelings of dissatisfaction with her desire to be seen as good. Similarly, she confronts her envy of other women, recognizing that it often stemmed from feelings of inadequacy fueled by societal comparison. Instead of shaming herself for these emotions, Lohen learns to view them as opportunities of growth and self-awareness. By sharing these deeply personal insights, Lohen challenges the cultural expectation that women must navigate their struggles in silence. She emphasizes on the importance of addressing these emotions, even when it feels uncomfortable. Through her journey, she demonstrates how vulnerability and self-awareness are not weaknesses but strength that can lead to profound transformation. Ultimately, Lohen's willingness to share her imperfections and healing processes is one of the book's greatest strengths. Her reflection encourages readers to question the narrative they've been taught, embracing their emotions without judgment, and prioritizing their own well-being. In doing so, she not only criticizes the societal structures that perpetuate these struggles, but also offers a roadmap to break free from them. Elise Loehnen on Our Worst Behaviour goes beyond her personal and historical analysis of the seven deadly sins to examine how modern societal systems perpetuated the constraints these sins impose on women. Loehnen argues that societal structures such as capitalism, media, and contemporary gender norms have co-opted and weaponized the sins to maintain control and limit autonomy and foster inequality. One of the key critiques is the role of capitalism in exploiting the concept of the seven deadly sins. She explains how capitalism thrives by simultaneously encouraging indulgence and creating shame. For example, the sin of gluttony is exploited by industries that push excessive consumption from fast fashion to diet culture, while simultaneously shaming women for their indulgence. Women are bombarded with conflicting messages. They are encouraged to buy beauty products and indulge in self-care while being told to stay slim, disciplined, and modest. Lohen highlights Lohen highlights how these contradictions fuel a sense of inadequacy, keeping women in a perpetual cycle of consumption and self-criticism. Sorry. Damn. Similarly, envy has become a cornerstone of modern advertisement and social media culture. By showcasing curated images of perfection, these platforms create an environment where women are constantly comparing themselves to others. This manufactured envy not only drives consumer behavior but also reinforces feelings of insecurity and competition among women. Lohen critiques these systems for turning women against one another, making solidarity and collective actions more difficult. She argues that envy should instead be reframed as a signal of unmet desire, prompting introspection rather than self-loathing. Lohen also critiques how the modern workplace exploits the sins of sloth by glorifying overworking and productivity. Women in particular are expected to excel professionally while also taking the majority of emotional labor at home. The pressure to do it all leaves little room for rest or self-care. Yet women who step back to prioritize their well-being are often labeled as lazy or uncommitted. Lohen points out that this relentless pursuit of productivity dehumanizes individuals and perpetuates burnout, especially for women who face additional barriers such as unequal pay and limited opportunities for advancement. This book also examines how wrath is policed in contemporary society. Loehnen critiques the stereotype of the angry women as a tool to dismiss legitimate grievances, particularly those of marginalized women, whether it's the angry black women trope or the infantilization of women's anger in the workplace. These stereotypes silence women and discourage them from expressing their frustrations openly. Loehnen emphasizes that anger is often a valid and necessary response to injustice, and reclaiming this emotion is a powerful step towards change. Loehnen's critique extends to the modern media, which often reinforces patriarchal values under the guise of empowerment. She points out that certain narratives, such as having it all, places impossible standards on women while failing to challenge the system that makes these standards unattainable. Additionally, the portrayal of women in media often reduces them to stereotypes, either overly ambitious and prideful or overly submissive and selfless. This depiction further emphasizes the idea that women must choose between personal fulfillment or societal acceptance. Through this critique, Loehnen exposes the system forces that keep women bound by the expectation tied to the 7 deadly sins. She urges readers to question these narratives and recognize how they serve larger systems of oppression. By doing so, she offers not only a critique of society, but also a call to action, to reject these limiting beliefs and envision a world where women are free to define their own morality, ambition, and worth. The final section of On Our Best Behaviour, Elise Loehnen shifts from critique to empowerment, offering pathways for women to break free from the constraints of the 7 deadly sins. She encourages us readers to reframe these sins not as moral failings, but as opportunities of self-awareness, growth, and liberation. By challenging the cultural narrative tied to these sins, Loehnen provides a framework for reclaiming autonomy and redefining what it means to live a fulfilling life. Loehnen emphasizes the importance of self-compassion as a first step towards liberation. She argues that women must confront their own guilt and shame instilled by society expectations and replace these feelings with kindness towards themselves. For instance, rather than viewing indulgence as a form of gluttony, women can reframe moments of pleasure as act of self-care, whether it's enjoying a meal without guilt or taking time to rest. Loehnen encourages women to prioritize their own well-being without fear of judgment. This shift allows us women to reconnect with our need and our desires in a way that is both freeing and restorative. Another pathway Loehnen advocates is the reclaiming pride and ambition. She challenges the notion that humility is the ultimate virtue for women, urging readers to celebrate their own accomplishments and advocate for themselves unapologetically. Pride, she argues, is not a sin, but a recognition of one's worth and potential. By embracing their ambitions and rejecting the fear of being seen as too much, us women can repair and can create a space for ourselves in a world that often seeks to diminish our voices. Loehnen also stresses the importance of surrounding ourselves with supportive communities that celebrate rather than compete with one another's success. She also encourages readers to embrace anger as a catalyst for change, reframing wrath as a constructive and necessary emotion. She argues that anger, when channeled effectively, can fuel movement of justice and equality rather than suppressing anger to avoid being labeled as emotional or irrational. Loehnen urges women to see it as a signal of boundaries being crossed or injustices being perpetuated. This perspective allows women to use their voices to advocate for themselves and others, transforming it into a force of collective progress. A recurring theme in Loehnen's solution is the idea of redefining morality on one's own term. This challenges readers to question who benefits from the narrative they've internalized and to reject those that no longer serve them. For example, rather than seeing envy as shameful, women can use it as a tool of self-discovery, asking themselves what unmet need or aspiration is revealed. Similarly, instead of fearing lust, women can view their desires as a natural and vital part of their humanity. By reclaiming these emotions and instincts, women can craft a moral framework that aligns with their values and empowers them to live authentically. Finally, Loehnen highlights the power of community and collective action. In dismantling these systems that perpetuate the constraints, she emphasized that individual liberation is important but incomplete without broader societal change. Whether it's through feminist movement, advocacy for workplace equality, or conversations that challenge traditional norms, Loehnen calls on women to support one another in breaking free from the outdated narrative. She envisions a world where women can thrive without being bounded by arbitrary standards of morality or virtue, creating a society that values authenticity, compassion, and equality. By offering these pathways, Loehnen provides a hopeful and practical roadmap for women seeking to reclaim their autonomy and redefining their relationship with the 7 deadly sins. Her message is both personal and universal, encouraging readers to confront the ways these sins manifest in their own lives, while also imagining a future where these constraints no longer exist. Oh, damn. Conclusion, guys, we're at the end of the video. Which is rewriting the roles of womanhood. Elise Loehnen on Our Best Behaviour is more than a critique of societal norms. It's a rallying cry for women to dismantle the invisible chains that have bound them for centuries. By reframing the 7 deadly sins as a tool of control rather than measures of immorality, Loehnen empowers readers to reclaim their humanity in its full complexity. Her work calls for women to embrace desire, ambition, and emotions, not as a sign to suppress, but essential parts of meaningful life. The message is clear. It's time to come and rewrite the rules, to let go of guilt, wanting more, to celebrate ambition without apology, to embrace rest without fear, or being called lazy. Loehnen doesn't just invite us to reflect, but she challenges us to act. This is a journey you have to start alone, and this is a journey you have to start alone, start the conversation, build a community, stand beside one another or other women as they break free from the narrative. I really encourage you guys to read this book, as it has opened my eyes. Like, I rated this book on Goodreads as, I think, 5 stars. It took me a while to finish this book, but I'm glad I did. And most of the books that are usually DNF usually come to be the best books that I ever read. So I encourage you guys to read this. If you know me in person and you want to borrow this book, I have notes in this book. Like, I have notes in this book. Like, I love it so much. I encourage you to read it. Anyway, guys, we've come to the end of the video. Again, the message is clear. The time has come to rewrite the rules. That is the message. And guys, I wish you a very successful year. Thank you so much for watching. If you've reached the end of the video, if you've reached all the way here, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below if I've told you something eye-opening, or if I have said something that you did not expect from this book. Looking at the cover, you cannot say this book is not eating. It's eating. Anyway, I'll see you guys in my next video. I was reading some of my notes, so I hope the next time I'm coming, I will be able to have most of the things in my head, but I just have a lot of things right now in my head right now, so it's just being a problem. But it took long enough because I did the poll, or like the thing on my Instagram a few days ago, and if you're looking at my nails, do not look at them. I know I need to get them fixed. Bye bye.